There is such a game of predicting death. Putting the hand on one's forehead, the prophet can predict the scene of their death. For example, some people will suffocate to death, some people will drown to death, and some people can't even imagine the way they die. As people around are casting the spell, the player's body also floats. The game seems ridiculous, but these 5 girls don't believe in heresy, so they play the floating game in a cemetery. The first one who tries the game is Olivia. The prophet presses her head and predicts that Olivia will be sitting in a red car. Popular singers' songs will be playing in the car, and then the car will collide head-on with a truck on the highway. When the police come to investigate the crime scene, her body has long been badly mangled. When the prophecy game is over, Olivia is not scared at all. Instead, she boasts that the prophet has written that story, but they don't know that the death is approaching. At a party the next day, Olivia accidentally finds her ex-boyfriend already has a new love. Just after drinking, she is unwilling to concede, so she drives away from the party. She calls and scolds her ex but doesn't notice the danger in front of her. Fortunately, she is still fine. At this moment, her classmate drives up to pick up injured Olivia. The classmate wants to comfort her, but Olivia feels that something is wrong. Why is this car playing the songs that the prophet said before? What makes her even more scared is this classmate's car happens to be red. We are going to collide. We are going to die. Stop the car. Stop the car. Olivia died. Her sister are all terrified, not only because her death method is exactly the same as the predicted scene, the more important is because the person who has predicted the death that night is not only her. Her sisters begin to doubt if that game is real, but they change their minds. The scary thing about the game is not the floating but the prophet Violet, because all the predicted scenes all come from her mouth. Violet is a friend they met not long ago. To welcome the new sister of the group, they suggested having a picnic in the cemetery in the middle of the night, but they remember that it was Violet who suggested the floating game. The 3 doubt that Violet must be a witch. At the funeral of Olivia, she wipes tears hypocritically, but when they find Violet, she looks innocent, says those predicted scenes all were made up temporarily by her and the accident was just a coincidence. Just when they're half doubting, Candace, who was the second one that was predicted the death, soon falls into danger. This girl is going to die soon. Under her feet is a swimming pool covered with bubble wrap. She just wants to take off her shoes but accidentally falls. Candace struggles in the pool, but the bubble wrap makes her unable to move. When she is rescued, she has already lost her breath, and how she died is exactly the same as what Violet predicted that night. People who are still alive are only Alex and McKenna. They question Violet again, but she still denies it. If they don't find a way, their lives are also in imminent danger. Therefore, while Violet is not at home, they let their boyfriend sneak into her room. The boyfriends rummage around, find a strange diary and open it. There are full of different death predictions written in the diary, and scarier is they also find a receipt from Candace's spa center in the drawer, and the payer was Violet. As they guessed, Violet is really hiding secrets. To make Violet tell the truth, they hit her to faint while she isn't paying attention, then tie her to a chair, threaten her if she doesn't tell the truth, they will burn the diary. Under their alternate intimidation, Violet has to confess everything. 2 years ago, Violet at that time was still a naive and cute girl. At a party, she played the floating game with her boyfriend, but later the people who played the game died one after another. Violet and her boyfriend felt bad, went to find the prophet at that time. Under their question, the prophet suddenly cried, said she was forced to do those things. After crying, she immediately changed her expression and told the two to leave. The next day, the prophet died and the murderer was Violet's boyfriend. The boyfriend went to the prophet's house, stole this strange diary. There were names of everyone who had played the floating game in it and the various death predictions. After a night of investigation, the boyfriend found that only one person could survive after each round of the game, and the prophet girl was the one who survived the last game. He saw in the diary that the prophet girl's death prediction was being burned, so he had set fire to her house. However, only one person could be alive. To save Violet, the boyfriend didn't hesitate to sacrifice his life. According to the death method predicted by the prophet, he jumped off the high bridge. Violet thought the game was over, but one day, she suddenly found that her body had changed. At that moment, she realized this was the curse of the game survivor. Becoming the next prophet, Violet started to lose her hair madly. Wounds appeared on her body out of thin air. She only knew that she had to find someone to play the floating game to alleviate the deterioration of her body. After hearing Violet's story, Alex and McKenna, who are still alive, feel so terrified, but if they want to break this curse, they can only kill Violet first. To remove the curse of the floating game, they throw Violet into the bathtub full of water. McKenna takes out an electrified wire, then throws it into the water. Violet soon loses her breath. Just when they think the curse is removed, Violet, who has just died, miraculously survives again. She shows a weird smile. Alex and the others are frightened. Now they understand that Violet as a prophet is already immortal. They can only kill her according to her own death prediction, that she can really die. However, they really don't know what Violet's exactly death prediction is, because before her boyfriend jumped from the bridge, to protect Violet, he had torn the page of Violet's death prediction from the diary, so the person who knows how she will die is only Violet herself. Having no choice, McKenna can only beg Violet to tell them how to remove the curse. Violet now remembers in the floating game in the cemetery that night, she as a prophet only saw the death scenes of 3 people. There was only one person that she didn't see anything. That person was McKenna, because when she pressed McKenna's head, she only saw the scene of her playing with her sister. McKenna also feels weird because her twin sister had died a few years ago, but since that game started, she often has hallucinations, sees her dead sister scares her. Violet doubts McKenna's sister is the key to remove the curse. She suggests that they have to play the floating game again to find the way. Things have reached this stage, McKenna and Alex, who are still alive, can only listen to her. They hope that this is the last time they play this damn game. As the floating game progresses, McKenna's eyes suddenly turn white and her consciousness has actually come to another world. In this world, McKenna sees her twin sister again. The sister holds McKenna's hand, her arms start to darken gradually, and Violet in reality also feels her body seems to be gradually recovering. Now they understand that the floating game can open the door to another world, and the twins' telepathy makes McKenna and her sister be connected. This explains why in reality McKenna can often see her sister. The sister didn't scare her, but she wanted to save her. Now, to save McKenna and the others, the sister uses her ability in another world to transfer McKenna's curse to herself through her sister. At the end of the story, they all seem to be back to the normal life, but this scary floating game isn't over yet. This is an American TV series, Light is a Feather, that already has 2 seasons. Do you want to watch it?